Chefs, what red flags should people look out for when they go out to eat?
Me realizing the 24-hour diner up the street has every red flag ever, but not caring because they have the best omelets and the best patty melts and I can get both together for under $10 plus the waitress will tell me how much her coworkers suck so I get a little entertainment too. The first thing they told us in culinary school when you're learning the basic rules for food safety standards is if you enter a seafood restaurant and smell fish, leave.
A $4 steak is not a good steak.
If employees try to argue with you about food quality in order to dissuade you from sending something undercooked back, just leave. It means they have a cook who can't take criticism and your chances at getting a sneezer are greatly increased.
Ask where your oysters come from. If they don't know, you don't want them. Works for most seafood.
Dirty stained carpets.
If a restaurant has a huge menu, it's all frozen.
Pastry chef here. As much as people say avoid specials, I can't speak for everyone but at least in desserts, breakfast pastries, if you see something new it's worth trying. Chances are it's something the chef has been working on for weeks on their own time. There's a lot of love and effort put into it. Also, the standby if the menu is a book, it's probably not great. The biggest thing to keep an eye on though is the staff. If there's pissed off people, get out as fast as you can obviously. If everyone is kind and apathetic and not talking to each other much, get out. That's also a shitty environment, everyone is probably really passive-aggressive, and that's going to show. If people seem genuinely good with being there even if it's busy or if there's playful ragging going on, that's where you want to be. The better the staff gets along, the better everything in the place runs.
If a restaurant has a one-page menu that's usually a pretty good sign, it means their line cooks have become specialists and can usually nail all the dishes listed. Conversely, if a restaurant has a giant, multi-page menu that's a gigantic red flag. The longer the menu the better the odds that you're paying to eat a boiled bag frozen meal.
Pro tip, look up the health inspector reports for your county. For Florida, https://data.tallahassee.com/restaurant inspections. Edit state/county website list for the U.S. https://www.foodsafeanews.com/restaurant inspections in your area/. Edit number 2, current link for Michigan http://swordsolutions.com/inspections, courtesy of /u/NASPER.
Not a chef, but I just took a chance on a restaurant today and the chefs were sitting, legs up, right next to the front door as I walked in. No one but staff and me there. So, according to how my stomach feels, probably that. Pictures of food on the menu that clearly aren't from the restaurant.
If the area is busy but the restaurant is empty, that's usually a bad sign.
Not a chef but worked in food a lot. Carpet. Yeah, it's quieter and doesn't get slick, but it is one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. I saw them pull it up when they remodeled, and put in more carpet. Vacuuming only goes so far in a restaurant and I know they never, ever shampooed it. When the menus are super dirty and never cleaned, that means everything is super dirty and never cleaned.
Cook for a small Mexican restaurant here. I always look for how the staff interact with each other. If they all seem to enjoy being there, and coordinate well, more often than not it's because everything is running smoothly and they have a good system, which usually means they know what they're doing and you can expect good food. That's how it always is for the smaller, family-run restaurants I frequent anyway, which I believe always have the best food.
I have a family member who's worked in multiple different restaurants, and they always advise me never to get drinks with ice because too many places don't keep their ice machines cleaned because it's so often overlooked compared to other kitchen equipment.
Not a chef. Front of the house. When my boss, the owner, used to host and people would complain to her about the hour wait on Saturday night at 7 p.m. and then threaten to leave, she would tell them, if the restaurant you choose does not have a wait on a Saturday night, you may not want to eat there.
and then turn her biggest shit-eating grin on them smile. Can I add you to the list?
There's a Chinese restaurant in my town with a sign out front that says, clean food. And fresh. I still can't help but wonder why they would bring that up unprovoked.
If you order a meal that should take a long time to cook and it comes out very quickly, it's been pre-cooked. Edit. This applies mostly to quiet nights. If it's quiet and it comes out immediately, it's just been sitting there. But if it's busy, then there's enough turnover that it's likely alright and chefs are just being prepared.
We have a sushi place where the chef gives you free samples of future dishes. This usually means they take pride in their work and want to see people's reactions before committing it to the menu.
Blood on the vegetables.
I've worked in restaurants for over a decade. A couple years in the kitchen and the rest is pho. If your server's response to "how is the item" seems disingenuous, that's a big red flag. We know what goes on in the kitchen, we know the complaints, and we know which items to stress over when we deliver them. Servers who pause or seem uncomfortable with that question generally equates to a menu full of stuff we wouldn't eat even as a free shift meal. A good sign is when servers hang out and eat at the restaurant post-shift. Generally we are getting a discount but not free food. If we are spending our nightly tips on it, it's worth it. Edit. Whoa, thanks for gold, kind stranger.
I recently went to a newish barbecue place. I knew the moment I opened the menu it was going to be awful. The place had at least 120 things on the menu that run the gamut from burgers to lobster thermidor. When you see that, you know it's going to be terrible. It means they're trying to do everything rather than focusing on a smaller range of things and doing it very well. As I suspected, it was terrible.
If there is different cuisines on the same menu, it usually means it's not gonna be good. I don't trust that people can do Japanese and Italian in the same kitchen.
If you walk into a restaurant and hear Gordon Ramsay yelling at the staff, you probably want to leave. Unless it's one of Gordon's restaurants, of course.
Stay away from buffet and salad bars. A lot of the time it is the same stuff that just gets refilled over and over. Super gross.
This is late but I clean kitchen exhaust systems. If you walk in a restaurant and can smell grease, walk out. That means the place isn't clean. From the exhaust system to cooking equipment. We clean some places where grease drips off the hoods onto cooking surfaces. Edit. Where my first ever post this blew up. Thank you all.
Waitress here. If you see any food coming out that's messy and there's sauce all over the rim of the plate, etc., it's likely to mean that the chefs aren't putting much effort into their meals and they therefore will not be very good. All the chefs at my work find it so important that everything is presented well, and I agree, so if they miss something I'll check the plates and point it out, which they always appreciate as it reflects well on them.
There is an abundance of kitchen wisdom, popularized by books like Kitchen Confidential, that isn't always true. Don't order fish on a Monday. Specials are made with leftovers or food that's going bad. If the toilets are dirty, the kitchen is too. Chefs bleed into your food. And #X200B. It really depends on the venue. Any chef worth a shit is never going to serve bad fish, out-of-date meat, or bleed into your food. The fish thing could be accurate some of the time, but works on the assumption that restaurants have purchased their stock in bulk the previous week, which is often completely false for smaller establishments. That, and the concept of well-done steaks being deep-fried or shitty, older cuts of meat may have been true 10 or 15 years ago. But the culinary world has changed so much in the last decade with the rise of cooking shows and celebrity chefs that venues can't afford to cut corners or pull dodgy tactics like that with even mildly clued-in diners that know what they're eating.
It's a good idea to avoid restaurants that sound like Snapple cheese.
My wife trained as a chef and I cooked in fine dining in college. A long menu is a red flag. If they have 40 different entrees, it means that they are preparing a bunch of frozen ingredients, or they have the exact same entree rebranded as a different dish based on the sauce. Short menus tend to mean fresher ingredients.
In culinary school currently, and every single chef instructor says the same thing: if it's misspelled on the menu, it's on purpose and it's so they don't have to sell you the real thing. A prime example is crab cakes.
This is the prepare to never eat in a restaurant again post, seeing fruit flies. Fruit flies are an indication of a dirty kitchen.
Please God be clever about ordering. If the place is grubby, such as table not cleaned, staff are just sat down in the restaurant, you hear insane shouting from the kitchen etc. Don't order shit like lobster. I've worked in the industry for 10 years and a year ago went to Spain with my boyfriend's family. They all decided on a restaurant they wanted to go to. The restaurant was in a busy area but was quiet. Red flag 1, the menus were dirty as were the cutlery already laid out on the table. Red flag 2, and yeah, I asked for replacement cutlery. That there were more waiters than customers and most were sat down. One was drinking at the bar. Red flag 3, there was about 50 dishes on the menu. Red flag 4, and I saw flies all over. Red flag 5, I ordered a vegetarian salad because I didn't trust meat from there at all and told my boyfriend he should do the same. He didn't listen, nor did the rest of his family. They all decided to go for chicken or seafood. They spent the next 2 days vomiting. I enjoyed the next 2 days in the sun.
Cockroaches lurking around the place. If you see one, there's bound to be more hiding somewhere.
Used to work in a fancy kitchen. Any place that is charging more than $25 for a chicken entree is a goddamn scam, an overwhelmingly huge menu. Typically those places aren't very good.
Obligatory not a chef. My grandfather was a long-haul trucker, and always told me on road trips to look for the places truckers congregate. They all talk to each other and will find the best places along the highways. It's worked out for me so far. Edit, so in response, this is for greasy spoon places and I don't count gas stations. Also this advice was given a few decades ago so things have probably changed since. Still find pretty tasty, horrible for you food, though.
Not a chef, more of a foodie. That's what we call fat guys that eat out a lot now. General restaurant condition. If the paint is peeling off the walls, the furniture is all too worn up, the place is not cleaned well, etc. The food is probably going to be equally shit, if there are too many items on the menu. If you have 50 combo choices, man, you know half that stuff is frozen, old, canned etc. Nothing is gonna be great like an In-N-Out burger. It's all gonna be meh.
Check your dishes, cups, cutlery. Mood of staff. If it has an open kitchen it's probably half decent. Cleanliness of place, clutter, etc. If your plate is hot it doesn't mean your food was microwaved. Every restaurant I've worked in has kept their plates in a warming drawer or oven to keep them hot.
One thing I haven't seen mentioned yet, the amount of ServSafe certificates posted on their wall. ServSafe is a national food safety training course that all managers have to take and pass to become managers. It is required in all food service establishments and for every ServSafe certified employee, there should be a certificate visible to customers similarly to health inspection. So basically, the more certificates you see, the more employees that work there who truly understand food safety. It's an incredibly tough test and you have to actually understand the material in order to pass.
Chef here. An easy red flag is an oversized menu or a menu that goes out of the restaurant's theme. If the menu is the size of a short novel it's very likely your food is going to be subpar. Staff demeanor can be a big one but it's hard to judge if you can't see the cooks. Chef. It's not uncommon for places to have lazy servers with a poor attitude but the cook's still rocking it. If you do see the cook though and their demeanor is poor they aren't going to care how your food comes out.
Not a chef but if you see one singular cockroach lurking around, there's probably hundreds or thousands of them hiding in the kitchen. Also dirty menus and corners that aren't dusted are bad signs. I look for dust. Dust on the ceiling tiles or in the air conditioning vents. I also have a habit of running my finger along chair frames after I sit down to check for dust.
Not a chef but one that makes me keep driving past is a sign saying under new management. Or something similar. It means the business has already failed, at least, once and either a new owner has come in thinking they'll be able to cut corners better than the last owner, or it's the same owner trying to save face by saying someone new is in charge when there isn't. Steer clear of these places. Edit, So I realized I was overly harsh with my initial comment, and some of the replies had some good points about how these signs could actually lead to positive changes. I was definitely speaking from my own experiences from restaurants that have done this and also ones that my friends have shared in the past. I still believe more often than not there won't be significant changes done to improve these places, and that while some people truly mean well, others are just trying to put lipstick on a pig.
Not a chef, but from personal experience, if it's a small Chinese restaurant and they have a tank holding live seafood, but they don't clean it, that place is definitely going to give you a brutal case of food poisoning. If you insist upon eating at such a place, I suggest you tip heavily, if ordering to go, or heavily flattering the waitstaff and or asking about what's fresh, if dining in.
Greater than not a chef, but if you see one singular cockroach lurking around, there's probably hundreds or thousands of them hiding in the kitchen. Also, dirty menus and corners that aren't dusted are bad signs. Staff arguing with each other is a huge red flag, but you gotta admit, it's the best dinner show there is.
I always say, if you enter a seafood shop or restaurant, it should smell like the ocean. Mostly like fresh air and salt water. That means everything is fresh. If it smells like fish, it starts to become bad, and if it starts, it is gonna be bad very fast.
Here's the thing that sucks about that though. We are right next to a retirement home and they come by a couple times a week to try out some food at our restaurant. Every time they come in you can smell this awful fishy smell, and it takes about 30 minutes for the smell to leave. So I'd say I agree with this rule with one exception. Look for a gaggle of elderly people.
Where can you get a $4 steak? It might not be good, but I might just have to try one out of sheer curiosity.
Thank you for watching. We publish amazing Reddit stories every day. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe to keep the dog smiling.